Howdy folks, it is Scanner here. In today's video we're going to talk a little bit more about Paladins. I've been really hung up on Paladins lately, and I don't know why. I just can't stop thinking about them. And what I want to talk about in today's Trench Crusade Mysteries is how do we think Paladins get to hell? I'm super interested in your theories about this one, so sound off in the comment section and let me know what you think it is. But I'm going to go through some stuff that I think is pretty important. So Paladins, as we all know, the perfect results of the communicant process. Ultimately, these are the best of the best. They have taken the communicant Jesus juice from the Metacrists, and they have become what they are, which is like 15, 16, 17 feet tall murder machines that can go in and out of hell. They're the only thing on the fateful side that can get into hell and survive and come back out after potentially being victorious against the things that they fight there, which is a tremendous kind of statement for the world of Trench Crusade. The really interesting thing is, how do they actually get into hell? So there's a number of ways that you can get into hell that have been established basically in the Trench Crusade universe. There is the main gate at Jerusalem, which I strongly feel it's not that. I think the imagery there is amazing. I think the idea of your paladin getting their shit, rolling off through the desert, swatting everything on the way, you know, humping up to the gate, walking through and just doing it that way. Obviously, it's a tremendously powerful image, and it would drive home the idea that the Paladins are the only people who are capable of doing that. But that's not necessary just by the fact that they do it. You don't need to make it look cooler. I feel like if they were to try to get through the gate, that hell would be pretty aware of things coming through from the other side, especially because they've dealt with Paladins before. They've scrapped Paladins. Paladins have come into hell. Paladins have like slaughtered their hierarchy, taken out important infrastructure, interfered with their efforts and all that kind of stuff. They're not a secret. Basically, they know that Paladins exist and they know that Paladins can get into hell. I feel like this has never been established within the canon, but like within my head canon, I feel as though hell can't just endlessly run stuff through the gate. They need to build up an amount of power to be able to essentially move matter through the gate. It's not like it's magic in the sense that it's magic in the world, but in reality, I think all magic in most ways that you could explain it or describe it or argue it still needs to have some kind of rules. There still needs to be some reasonable degree of law. Like, the vast majority of concepts of magic will involve some degree of limitation. And I think that within the world of Trench Crusade, that Goethic magic that powers the gate has that same level of limitation. You can't just run matter through it endlessly. You need to plan. There's logistics involved in this stuff. You need to have a degree of Goethic surplus to be able to send through the things you want to send through. All that said, you can have an army on the other fucking side just in case a paladin comes through. That's not a big stretch of the imagination at all. I also feel, and this is perhaps more interesting, that the Trench Crusade universe has established itself as somewhere where hell has a fixed geography. I think if you look at old art, and I've got some weird pieces of old art that pop up during this video, hell is a very conceptual thing. It's weird. It's strange. It's just almost impossible to imagine conceptually. It's this really weird abstract place of geometry and physics and physicality and emotional landscaping and all that kind of stuff. And I would guess were hell real, it would be very malleable and very alterable and very difficult to conceptualize and understand on a human level. I think in the world of Trench Crusade, hell is very akin to Earth. It's got big plains, it's got mountains, it's got lakes of fire, it's got big cities. I think it's got an established geography, and I think there's elements within that geography that can be malleable, but I don't think the entire thing alters or changes in dramatic ways. So I think the Hellgate, the main Hellgate in Jerusalem, is fixed here, and I think it's fixed in Hell. I think it's got a fixed position in Hell, and if you go through, you're where you are. If you go back out and back through again, you just, you'll be in the same place. It's never going to change. I think that allows for Hell to have a giant staging area that they can, do their vast incursions from, that they do from time to time. And it doesn't make a huge amount of sense for a paladin to have to go in that way, depending on where that paladin needs to go overall in Hell. By that same kind of vibe, I feel like the other Hellgates that we know of, the one up north near the Kola Peninsula, and the one that has been opened in Ireland, all those indicate that other Hellgates can be opened. But we also know it takes a lot of Goethic power to do that, as stated in the lore for the invasion of Era. So I feel like one of the major Hellgates is just not it. In the story deployment that we covered a while ago, they talk about a tunnel. Essentially, think of it as being like a hell lock, I guess, like an airlock, where you can move through. The door opens, you go down into Hell, and it's this own personalized private tunnel. I feel like that's really cool. It's actually my favorite imagery for it. The idea of this airlock that you can go down into, and they go down and down and down and down, and they arrive at Hell. Or it works on a portal type style, or something of that nature. And they're all under, at least as far as the story would be concerned, the Castle St. Angelo. So I think that's risky business for Earth, and I don't know if the church would necessarily engage in that kind of stuff. As I said, even though it's my favorite. Now, were I establishing the canon, which I'm not, all this stuff is speculation, this is all strictly non-canon conversation, I would probably do it that way, and I would have it done in such a way where they had moved beyond conceptualizing Goethic magic and what it might be, and moved into Goethic mathematics, and were capable of predicting where roaming portals would be in Hell at certain times and sending people through them, as long as those people were fucking paladins, and that this is essentially how they did it. That would probably be the way that I personally would go. But I don't think that's the way here at all. I think that was just a story. I've, talked to Mike about it. Those were never really edited. They were just very early world building stuff. Nothing in there is canon or should be treated as such. Now, there is another way that has been established in Trench Crusade as a means of getting into Hell. And it's where there's areas on Earth. They're not portals into Hell. They're complications of physics, is the easiest way I could describe them. And they allow things from Hell to come through and things from Earth to go through to Hell. And it has happened in the past. You have people being kidnapped through them. It's mentioned especially with regards to Goethic warlocks, that some of the priests and the bishops and the things like that that are kidnapped, they're whisked back this way, and this is how they do it. And it's mentioned also in some of the Temple of Metamorphosis lore, from what I can remember. There's allusions to this idea of like falling through reality and ending up somewhere that you just don't understand. I imagine that is the Paladin method, that they have a route, a personal route, a personal schism in reality that they can go through, and it takes them to their specific circle of Hell, because that is the most important aspect to me. The Paladins are purpose-built for their circles. The Paladin of the 4th circle deals with shit there. The Paladin of the 9th circle deals with shit there, etc., etc., etc. This is not a case of wandering through and just like roaming through the different circles and whatever. They're pretty clear that those paladins are specifically designed, built, and bred to deal with the threats in that particular circle of hell. And the easiest way it feels like the easiest way for a hell to potentially defeat the paladins would be to somehow get them to end up in the wrong circle, because you're used to, defending against X, Y, or Z, and suddenly you're dealing with A, B, and C, and you're just not equipped for it. You're not built that way. It's not something that you're supposed to be doing. So I think that is how they do it. I think they have these secret little folds in space that they use to go through. They have nothing got to do with the gates. They have nothing got to do with those tunnels. They just get their mission, they arm up, and they rove off into the world. And they're probably the only people who knows about it. I wouldn't be surprised if the church locked away anybody else who might know about it, and doesn't allow them to talk to anybody ever. Would certainly kind of make a lot of sense. But then the paladins they slip through these little gaps, because nothing in hell knows where they are. They're not instantly on the defensive when they get through. And then they kind of pop up and slaughter and do their mission, achieve it, and then disappear. And I'm pretty sure that's what makes sense to me in my mind, even though it's not the coolest one. I feel like the coolest one is just rocking up to the gates of hell and kicking the door in. And you're like, hey, it's me, I'm a paladin, eat shit. And I think the one I like the most myself is the idea of the like diving bell tunnels almost that attach to roaming portals and dictate when you can go through. I strongly feel like they can't just roam through whenever. I think that works the same way with kind of, there must be something it's imagine like so if you want to get to Mars or the moon or wherever, you must wait for a suitable launch window. And I kind of get the feeling that there's launch windows. I just feel like they should have that complication when it comes to trying to get to hell. They shouldn't be able to just like flit in and out or whatever. I don't think it should be that way. The last thing I have to say about hell, and this is something that kind of tickled my fancy earlier, although I really don't think it's the case in Trench Crusade. I think this was just my imagination wandering when I was doing some gardening earlier, is the idea that you can go into hell and you don't know when you're going to come out. And I mean that potentially very specifically about when. You could come out of hell before you go in. I don't know how loyal hell is to concepts of time and space and things like that. So it's just something to think about, I feel, when you consider hell, is how time works there. You could be down there for a week and come back out and it's 17 years later, basically. So yeah, that's it. They're my thoughts on hell. Give me your thoughts on hell, as I said, in the comment section below. As always, folks, thank you so much for watching these videos, and all the best.